I'd like to invite Kyle Evans to ask this question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have lived in Bedworth all my life. I was born on Wood Street in 1997, while I still live today. Ever since I've been brought up in Bedworth, I've been educated in Bedworth, and I come from 3 generations of families who have resided in Bedworth. From a young age, it was clear to me that Bedworth was always second best in Nuneaton, and I still have that opinion to this day, an opinion I share with many other residents across Bedworth. Although I appreciate that Bedworth is smaller compared to Nuneaton, both geographically and in terms of its population, I still believe that the people of Bedworth should be given more power away from Nuneaton. Up and down the UK, many towns, similar to that of Bedworth, in terms of its population and geographical size, have their own town councils. For example, in Ariston, they have their own town council. The people of Ariston are able to elect their own town council, which has devolved responsibilities away from the North Warwickshire Borough Council, including cemeteries, planning floral displays, play areas and allotments, whilst at the same time still being governed by North Warwickshire Borough Council. I have recently conducted an online poll on a community forum on a social networking site. I asked the question whether or not residents would be in favour of the creation...
Mr. Evans, stop, you're not actually speaking to your question, Mr. Dancer.
Madam Mayor, just to be clear, questioners can only actually ask what is on the submitted question to us. But I would like to reassure Mr. Evans and the people of Bedworth and Nuneaton that this council has no plans whatsoever to introduce a town council for Bedworth, a measure which would lead to a supplementary council tax demand to be added to the total they now pay. Nuneaton and Bedworth, united to achieve since 1974, are the only council in Warwickshire to have no parish councils, no town councils, and have been able to maintain good services with the lowest average council tax in the county. Indeed, Bedworth residents have regularly rejected this idea, Madam Mayor, in elections. Perhaps a trip to North Warwickshire might help. There, all residents pay more on each band of council tax due to the added burden of town and parish councils. Is this really what residents seek? I doubt it very much.
I would like Carl Mayor to ask this question, please, and ask you to speak to the question you submitted.
Yeah, no worries. My name's Carl Mayer from the Woodlands Action Group in Bedworth. In November 2015, I submitted a Freedom of Information request to see the independent legal advice this council took regarding returning Bedworth Woodlands to the Greenbelt, which is still council policy today. This was refused by this council for one thing and another, but I was told I could take it to internal review, which upheld this council's original decision, stating some rubbish about it being case law. It is now being dealt with at the Commissioner's office in Cheshire, where a case officer is looking into it. Fingers crossed. I would like a couple of things to be answered today if possible. Number 1, could I at least have the name of the company this council used to seek the independent advice about returning Bedworth Woodlands to the Greenbelt? Number 2, also the dates of which this council used this company. And question 3, how much in total to date this independent advice has cost this council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. The council instructed Mr. Satnam Choom of number 5 Chambers, Fountain Court, Steelhouse Lane, Birmingham, B4 60R, to provide specialist legal advice on a number of matters related to the borough plan, including the Greenbelt proposals for the Woodlands. Your second point, officers from the council met with Mr. Choom in conference on 2 occasions, on the 13th of April 2015 and the 15th of May 2015, prior to the legal opinion being provided on the 5th of June 2015. Finally, total fees of £5,602.50 were incurred in obtaining the advice. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Council appears to have employed planning consultants DLP Planning to review sites for including in the next version of the Borough Plan, which may go to consultation some point in 2017 or 18. We have had an unreasonable amount of development proposed north of Nuneaton. Then Bedworth Woodlands was also included in the 2015 version of the plan, which was kept from councillors and the public until September 2015. A quick online search suggests that these consultants are involved in a large amount of development on countryside. This continues to give the residents of this borough no confidence in the process. Given that there has been no robust scrutiny of housing targets or site selection since the development of the plan started in 2006, and the impression that all previous responses to the plan have been ignored, when will the public and their elected representatives be allowed to see and scrutinise this particular piece of work, which affects so many aspects of the borough plan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to Mrs Condicore, government guidance requires councils to take an evidence-based approach to policy development, which is why consultants are commissioned to prepare evidence which will inform the content of the borough plan. Evidence that has already been used to inform previous iterations of the borough plan is available to view on the council's website. Evidence that is being used to inform the next version of the plan will be published alongside the plan in January 2017, in line with the timetable agreed by Cabinet on the 15th of June, which I think you could probably find on YouTube, as Councillor Kondaka, as usual, was filming it.
I move on to questions by members. I will not be allowing any supplementary questions. We don't have a lot of business on the agenda. I move on to the first question by member, Councillor Condicore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question is to the portfolio holder for planning and development. The £3 million borough plan is now 8 years late, and there's been a failure to create any significant economic growth in the borough since the 2011 census. One simple measure of economic growth is the job density. In 2011, there were just 61 jobs in the borough for every 100 people of working age. This compares to 79 jobs per 100 in Rugby, 100 jobs per 100 people in Warwick, and 112 per 100 in North Warwickshire. By 2014, the rest of Warwickshire's job density has increased sharply, and the density of jobs in Warwickshire has increased to 108 jobs for every 100 people of working age. Here in the Nuneaton and Bedworth, the working age population has fallen by around 500 a year, and the job density has now dropped to 60 jobs per 100 people of working age who are still living in the borough. The lack of a borough plan and the economic development work by the Borough Council may not have helped the amount of jobs created and not helped maintaining our working age population. Some of this is likely to be due to the continuous staff turnover and repeated restructuring in the planning and economic development team. In 2014, the Council restructured the planning and economic development into two nominally separate teams. Please list the details of all the changes in posts in planning policy and economic development over the last 2 years, including details of where posts have become vacant, where staff have left the Council, obviously omitting personal information. Thank you.
Councillor Alston.
Councillor Harvey.
Madam Mayor, I do apologise, and it's because of transfer of responsibilities. I will in fact ensure that Councillor Kondaka receives a written reply to his letter, to his question as soon as possible.
So, sorry, can I just make a point? You've not answered my question. Can I just request...
I'm asking you to sit down.
Sorry, can I request that this answer is put attached to the minutes,
Councillor,
please?
you've had an answer now.
I've not had an answer. I put a question in before... Madam Mayor, I put a question in, I've not had an answer. I would like it minuted.
Walking out of the building. Bullying.
I asked the question because of
Councillor
minutes.
Condicore, I am asking you to be quiet. I won't ask again. Moving on. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What are the council doing to address the real concerns of the town centre's businesses as evidenced by the many complaints reported in the local press? Could the portfolio holder tell me what contact he has personally made with the business owners of the town centres and what the outcomes of those meetings were?
Councillor Hall.
Madam Mayor, the council understands the challenges faced by all businesses in the town centre, and that is why both of our town centres, Nuneaton and Bedworth, lie at the heart of the council's economic development strategy. This will provide the basis upon which our town centres will move forward for the future. But we cannot do this alone. We shall need the support of businesses, residents and visitors alike if we are to create viable, attractive and sustainable town centres for the future. Last but not least, we shall need the support of the Conservative controlled County Council, who have so far rejected all requests by this council and business owners to change the timing of the raising of the town centre barriers, and insist upon continuing to put life and limb at risk by allowing large lorries and cars to vie with families and other pedestrians in the heart of the towns from 4 to 5 p.m. Equally, our town centre paving, completed when the Borough Council was still a highways agency, is badly in need of repair and replacing, but it seems our pleas fall on deaf ears at Shire Hall. The council is putting additional resources into the town centres by creating a new post of head of town centres and marketing, and this person will lead on town centre matters, drawing together town centres, markets, communications, events and street entertainment. Additional funding of £20,000 has been made available during 2016-17 to deliver an enhanced programme of town centre entertainment. We look to the Conservative controlled County Council to match fund, at least, the amount provided by this Labour Council, where there is a clear commitment to our towns. With only 13% of the council tax, it is only right that the authority which takes over 3/4 of every pound paid by householders here should make as great a commitment to our towns as they appear to do to the south of the county. Now, Madam Mayor, I'm always happy to meet groups of businesses in this borough when asked to do so. Sadly, the demise of the two town centre partnerships was not due to our lack of interest, but we would be happy to see any new venture along these lines if it was accompanied by renewed interest and commitment from town centre businesses. All they have to do is contact us, Mr. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to the Arts and Leisure portfolio holder. After complaints from many residents about the lack of grass cutting and the growth of the grass in the borough, could the portfolio holder tell me whether we are now up to date with the grass cutting schedule and why were we so far behind? What extra costs, if any, have we incurred for this service? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, first of all, I'm surprised being asked, as I've previously answered your question, so I will refer you to the statements of the 28th of June and the 12th of July, where I outlined the Council's position in relationship to the grounds maintenance. My statement of the 28th of June highlighted the fact that the grass cutting programme in the borough was behind schedule and our dissatisfaction with the performance of the contractor in this area. The unpredictable weather patterns were challenging, causing the grass to grow at a far faster rate than normal. This has slowed progress. The ground was also saturated and this caused further difficulties. The longer grass has resulted in higher incidents of mechanical breakdown for the grass cutting equipment, and this has added further impact to our contractor's schedule. My further statement yesterday outlined the situation has improved with the grass growth slowing down, along with the extra labour and the 7-day working put in place by the contractor. This has all enabled Glendown to get back on target and the standards are improving. We are still working with Glendown to ensure this improvement continues. I understand though that the contracts manager from Landau attended a recent wedding at St Nicholas Community Forum, where he answered publicly questions posed by local residents and ward members of, I believe, Ward 1, on the issues relating to grounds maintenance, the operations they take on behalf of this council. I can confirm there has been no additional cost to the council in relationship to the service that we have issued Glendale with a default notice for the non-performance totaling £1,200. Having said all this, the contract prices have been driven down due to years of budget cuts by your government. Unpredictable circumstances like the current weather conditions will get more and more difficult to fund. So, it may be that your time is better spent in encouraging your government to fund local authorities properly. In the meantime, this Labour administration will do its best to cushion our frontline services and the public who we represent from your government's cuts. But it is getting increasingly more and more difficult. Maybe you're an elected Prime Minister will change that, but I won't hold your breath. And finally, if I could control the weather, I'd have a lovely suntan, and I'd be sunbathing somewhere else, and I'd be a millionaire. I can't. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With planning applications either passed or pending, namely Camp Hill and Crow Hill, leading to the Council's draft gypsy and traveller strategy lying in ruins, what confidence can residents have that this Council will be prepared over the next few years to deal with illegal gypsy and traveller incursions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I find it absolutely incredulous that Councillor Wilson can make such a statement about the state of the strategy when lying in ruins, when he and his lot over there have flatly refused to get involved in any discussions around the borough plan. However, I will try and enlighten Councillor Wilson as to where we currently are with it. At the end of last year, the Council undertook a public consultation on a draft gypsy, traveller and travelling show people site allocation document. As we are obliged to do so, like many other councils, as laid out in the government's national planning policy framework. This document is at an early stage in the preparation process, and the feedback received during that consultation, along with subsequent planning decisions made, will inform the next version of the document, which will be subject to a further round of consultation next year. If gypsies or travellers buy land and then occupy it without the benefit of planning permission, this is a breach of planning control rather than being illegal. Planning powers would then be utilised to deal with this breach. If a planning application is submitted or an appeal heard, the issues would be determined on the planning merits of the development and would include what national or local policies were in place at the time the application is being dealt with. The private sector housing team works to remove unauthorised encampments on council-owned land and liaises with other landowners where there are other encampments. This work will continue to be prioritised above other work areas within the team to ensure the level of response remains consistent. The work may also be enhanced by the dedicated police officer with the traveller intelligence role and also potentially by the proposed emergency stopping site in North Warwickshire owned by the County Council, Madam Mayor. This council has been very successful in dealing with the unauthorised traveller encampments upon its land and has used the robust powers as prescribed by government in its guide called Dealing with Illegal and Unauthorised Encampments, a summary of available powers. As the guide states, this guide sets out the robust powers councils, the police and landowners now have to clamp down quickly on illegal and unauthorised encampments. With the powers set out in this guide available to them, councils and the police should be ready to take swift enforcement action to tackle rogue encampments and sites. That is what the guide says, Madam Mayor, and that is what this council does. And I can tell Councillor Wilson that residents of the borough can have full confidence that this council acts on the guidance and is already prepared to deal with illegal gypsy and traveller incursions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to ask the portfolio holder for planning and development, why is it that the Borough Council is contracting out analysis
of the 2015 Borough Plan consultation at the expense of the taxpayer, whilst it has previously cut staff numbers working on the Borough Plan? How much has external consultancy cost the taxpayer since 2010 up to date?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, this is a turn up for the books. A Tory actually criticising outsourcing. Well, if he wants to talk about outsourcing, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the NHS. Let's talk about the Land Registry. Or a bit closer to home, if you like, on-street parking. Or waste collection, which was in the Tory budget last year. Or the grounds maintenance across the borough. Outsourced in that very brief period in the borough's history when the Tories were in control. I have to take Councillor Graham to task on his incorrect statement that we have cut staff working on the borough plan. We have not, in fact, made any cuts to those staff working on the borough plan. Staff have left because they found other jobs, Madam Mayor. It happens. It happens in all organisations. But, again, if he wants to talk about cuts, let's talk about the Tory MPs happily voting to cut central government funding by 53%. With more to come.
What's this got to do with?
It's
a joke.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question for the leader. I hope you'll get a factual, detailed answer on the one we had from the portfolio holder. As a result of the prolonged failure of Glendale to deliver adequately on their grass cutting and grounds maintenance contract again this year, I arranged with officers to meet with directors of Glendale to establish for myself what was being done to rectify the shortfall of service delivery in St Nicholas and the surrounding areas. However, before the meeting could actually take place, I was advised by officers that the council were invoking a protocol that elected members could not meet with service providers and that the matter would be handled purely by the portfolio holder. Can the leader please tell us the exact terms of this protocol and when it was last debated in and approved by this council? And can he provide me with the information I was denied as a result of the meeting not taking place by telling us the date that Glendale actually became fully up to date with their work schedule and the amount of the financial penalties imposed by NBBC in respect of the prolonged failure of service delivery?
Madam Mayor, despite factual inaccuracies in the question, I will answer factually. Firstly, in relation to the idea that Councillor Tromans could meet with contractors, I have to point out that this will be quite improper. With respect to this matter, it is not a matter of protocols or policy, but of law. The Council operates executive arrangements in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000. This places responsibility on the Leader of the Council to discharge the Council's functions. In turn, I have delegated the responsibility for arts and leisure to a portfolio holder, namely Councillor Ian Lloyd, and he is responsible for the delivery of the grounds maintenance service. It is not appropriate for other councillors to seek to undertake that responsibility. They have neither the legal powers nor authority to represent the council. And in general, Madam Mayor, I would point out that councillors should not be meeting with contractors. It is only for portfolio holders with officers, and I stress with officers, to meet with any contractor, not for any other councillor. Councillor Lloyd has recently updated councillors, even just this evening, on the other parts of Councillor Troman's questions with regard to grass cutting, and he has dealt with the question and amounts of default notices, so I won't repeat that part. But I am sure, I don't need to remind councillors, that it was during the very brief period from 2008 to 2010 of Conservative administration at this council that grounds maintenance was privatised.
Madam Mayor, according to the Financial Times, council leaders say they are expecting years of financial hardship following the vote to leave the EU, with fears that the EU development funding will not be replaced by Westminster. Our Tory Prime Minister created this Brexit mess and now is busy packing his designer bags and suitcases. In view of this, does the leader of the council share the worries expressed by other council leaders?
Thank you. Councillor Phillips. Madam Mayor, unfortunately I do share the worries expressed by other council leaders. Although we have seen the value of the pound collapse already, firms of various sorts declare they will move abroad and promises that lost EU funds will be replaced. Such promises ditched on the 24th of June. So yes, the worries of other council leaders are shared by myself, Madam Mayor. We are entering a period of great economic uncertainty, all brought upon us by the misjudgments of a certain man leaving 10 Downing Street this afternoon.
Given the repeated traveller incursions within the borough, why has the council not moved forward with the request made by the Conservative members at the end of last year for a report to be produced on securing all green spaces and play parks within the borough?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A report on the potential for securing parks and open spaces is on the work plan and is due to go to scrutiny in September. We undertake the securing of several areas of land in the winter period, and these have made a positive impact. Officers continue to be diligent with the closing of gates and checking of sites to ensure that there is no unauthorised access and that it is kept to a minimum. Of course, we would love to fence off all our open spaces, but, I repeat again, with around 50% cuts in the council budget by your government, it is becoming impossible to do all the things we'd love to do in this council. It's like keeping house. If your income to that property, into that house, is cut by 52%, you can't have everything, and the shopping basket shrinks.
By a climbing frame.
Thank you. Year after year, the Labour capital budget has been based on relying on capital receipts from the proposed redevelopment of Ash Street and Vicarage Street. But due to the lack of redevelopment, it's used other funding to sustain capital spending. What work is the council doing to guarantee that this regeneration will happen and will secure a more sustainable capital budget?
Well, yet again, unfortunately, Madam Mayor, this question is based upon a false premise. But I'm sure the Finance Department will be arranging more training for councillors so that they can actually understand the capital and revenue budgets. Our capital budget is not predicated on schemes which may or may not come forward for Abbey Street or Vicarage Street. The capital programme is built up from needs which have been identified to complete capital works on our assets or on other specific projects. Our long-standing prudent approach to budgeting and capital financing, including our strategy to mainly utilise new homes bonus allocations to finance one-off investment type projects, which are largely capital in nature, along with successfully securing external contributions, means that we have capital resources available to fund schemes that are identified as being required. The Council continues to work with its partners to bring forward ideas for further development, and this has recently involved the launch of the Nuneaton Investment Prospectus at MIPIM, the International Property Conference. As a direct result of our decision to work with other local authorities in the West Midlands Combined Authority, a decision opposed by the Conservative opposition, the recently published investment prospectus of the WMCA includes investment in our town centre as one of its aims. Clearly, any redevelopment schemes will have potential to increase our capital receipts, but this may need to be used in different ways, for instance, for paying off debt, where interest charges are higher from previous years. But due to continuing financial attacks being made on this authority by the Conservative government, supported throughout in their policy of cutting our grant by our 3 local Tory MPs, we are very unsure of the future, Madam Mayor. However, I do promise to arrange some financial training so that people can actually fully understand
to item 8, special agency decisions. I'm informed that there have been no decisions taken by the Cabinet in the special agency area. So I'll move on to item 9. Before by the leader of the council is a fact made by the leader of the council and presented.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I present to the council the report that's in front of you, and will be happy to answer any questions thereon.
Then you wish to ask Councillor Harvey or any other Cabinet member any questions about it from the report. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I want to ask the portfolio holder for planning and development a question based upon the on item page 18, BI, local development scheme. We got presented to us at the Cabinet meeting a new timetable that the consultation start in January 2017 for the Borough Plan. From our understanding, all the consultants have been working on reading responses in February and March this year and selecting sites. Clearly, there's lots going on, and from the answer you gave to my wife, we are not going to see or have any working party involvement until January 2017. How can this be right, and why aren't you following the same procedures as places like North Warwickshire and having minuted meetings to develop their local plan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't comment on other councils, Madam Mayor. Clearly, Councillor Kandaka knows all about other councils. I wish he'd concentrate on this one sometimes. Consultants are working on sites. I don't think consultants are working on sites, Madam Mayor. I think it's his council that are working on sites. And he mentioned Borough Plan Working Party. No one said there's not going to be any Borough Plan Working Party until January. That's something that he's fabricated just for his own political ends there, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to point 4, I'd like to first of all extend thanks on behalf of people of the Borough and of Ouston Road and the surrounding area in particular for this U-turn by the council on the cemetery land and the lodge at Ouston Road. But we still don't know what the long-term view is. It's bought us some time. So my question is, when can we expect a report on the new cemetery land to be brought forward?
A report has been brought forward, Madam Mayor, on new cemetery land. It's Marston Lane in Bedworth. That's gone through Cabinet, it's gone through full council. There's over 60 years' worth of burial land there for the whole borough. Plus, in the Nuneaton area, the land at Austin Grange will be completed, I hope, by year end. That's what we're aiming to do. Be all the buildings brought down and the land prepared. Hopefully that will be done by year end. There could be slippage, there always is. On the other part of the question, Madam Mayor, when some land comes forward, either in the borough plan or after the borough plan, at the moment, unfortunately, people are holding out for hope on land, but if land comes forward, then we'll consider it. But I'll say again, and they don't seem to be getting this, 50 to 52% cuts in this borough. I can't guarantee anything. If they want to guarantee things, then that's fine. But they've got to come forward from government with the money, and they've got to fund these local authorities properly. They're not. So I can't give any guarantees. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to the local development scheme, given that there is widespread concern amongst residents both in the papers and online about the state of the town centres, and the fact that the local development scheme seems to earmark having a delivery plan and strategy in place by 2019, would the portfolio holder for town centres not agree that that is actually too little too late and should be brought forward as soon as possible to give reassurance to residents that we are investing and securing the futures of our town centres?
Madam Mayor, if I was to believe everything that was online, well, I'd be retired at this moment in time, because before the elections, I remember certain things, particularly by Conservative supporters, saying we were going to be finished, but in fact we did extremely well in terms of our percentage share of the vote, Madam Mayor. So let's not take it too seriously what sort of things are online. I will never sleep every night the amount of abuse that's about me. Madam Mayor, just to make it very clear, I answered about town centres earlier. I've said all the things we are doing about town centres, proposals that are maybe presently being formulated amongst the business leaders for working things with the council are going to be fully considered, but we cannot wave a magic wand. 1 minute Councillor Wilson talks about the internet, and then he forgets about the effects of the internet in the rest of his question. And I think that many retailers, not only in this town but in lots of other towns, will talk to you about the effects of the internet. And if the Conservative opposition is telling me they never buy anything on the internet and they always go into town to buy it, then I would be more interested.
Yeah, going back to land at Ouston Road, which is the bottom item on page 17, will the portfolio holder apologise, and why didn't he at the Cabinet meeting, for wasting around £15,000 putting a planning application to build the houses on the site, when if there had been early consultation, both members and the public would have actually suggested it was better used for cemetery land?
I think it's me. We're just discussing because, in fact, the council put forward the application for in relation to the land, in relation to the houses, and therefore I'm leader of the council. But I'm not going to apologise, Madam Mayor. We looked at that situation and we went to look at Ouston Road and came back with the idea that we could, in fact, help a lot of people in what they actually wanted. And that was worth doing. The planning application is not totally lost, Madam Mayor, because in actual fact, those plans still exist, and our intention is that we will actually build that development somewhere else.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Seeing I didn't get an answer to bring in the actual town centre strategy forward from 2019, I'll try again on a different tack. With relation to having the borough plan in place now by about the third or fourth revision to 2018, given the fact that government is aiming to say that if you haven't got a local development plan in place by 2017, it will consider putting councils into special measures by 2017, can the portfolio holder for planning and development give an assurance that he is putting contingency plans in place for what happens if and when government does take this council in special measures, given its dilatory stance on the borough plan?
Madam Mayor, I don't know where he's got 2018 from. It was mentioned earlier in the question. I have no idea if they actually read the reports that go to Cabinet. That will explain the timetable. The timetable is to go to Inspector in February 2017, not 2018.
Yeah, a question on now, going on to page 19, the General Fund Housing Revenue Account outturn. This council, and we've got the accounts further back, actually had a capital expenditure of 15.5 million, and it got 7.5 million from the council taxpayers and about 2.5 million in government precepts. Does the leader of the council understand how his council is financed? That actually the £2.5 million is the grant that's got cut, and the total income of the council hasn't been reduced by 52%. Actually, the council is still spending £15.5 million a year. Do you understand that? Because the things you keep saying that we're losing 52% of our income, it's only the government's grant, and then the government is giving you loads of new homes bonus.
There didn't seem to be a question in there. However, can I ask the council's procedure with a little bit of respect?
I'll just leave it to say, Madam Mayor, that I would have thought the financial history of this authority is clear perfectly well that I understand the accounts. So do the officers, who are also regularly abused by Councillor Connick.
you, Madam Mayor. I'll try again, because I did actually read the papers, and it's evident that the portfolio holder didn't. It does say that it will go to the inspector in 2017. It says it will be adopted by the council in 2018. That was on the papers, quite clear in black and white. So can I ask the question again, since I didn't get an answer to the actual point, that is there a contingency plan in place for if the government does consider... I didn't get an answer.
Madam Mayor, I'm quite happy to give an answer. It's exactly the same answer I gave previously. It's actual submission to the inspector. It's not about adoption, it's submission to the inspector. That's what the government are saying. So we are planning to submit to the inspector, as I said in my previous answer, February 2017.
That's not right. It's not. It's only going to consultation.
Thank you. What works is the council doing with the voluntary bodies to bring the disused community assets back into, well, into a decent state, back into community use?
Councillor Gazan, it needs to be in the leader's report from Cabinet.
It is. Sorry, point 9A. Sorry, we'll start again. But residents of Moorwood have expressed concern about the state of the pavilion, pavilion on Park Lane.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I don't normally do this, and I did call you Madam Mayor this time. Can you please ask the question again, because I didn't hear the question.
Okay, so point 9A then. What work does the council do with the voluntary bodies to bring the disused council assets back into a decent state, back into community use?
Sorry about that, Councillor. I generally didn't hear your question. Yeah, we do a lot of work with voluntary bodies to bring all sorts of buildings and organisations to bring those buildings back into use. You've got, I'm just going to go, you've got Exor Boxing Club. That was derelict, it was falling in disrepair. They went and got grants. We worked with them at Sports Development, working with them to try and get funding from other bodies to actually assist them in getting that unit back into some use. That's one example. Yeah, I mean, there's Bedworth Cricket Club. They're doing the same. They've been working, they've put hundreds of thousands of pounds in. That's all been done with our sports development team, who we brought in-house a couple of years ago, to actually work with them. Kevin Hollis is the man that's doing the work. He'll work with any organisation at all that could help to bring back into use any facilities that they're using or improve those facilities. But at the end of the day, I hate to keep saying it, finances do play a big part of this Borough Council. And at the end of the day, we need more and more local residents groups to help do some of the work and get some of the money from other organisations, because we just do not have it. That money is diminishing over the years, and it's going to go even further if we're not careful. So I'll say again, talk to your own government and